That's a fire little intro. That's your
You like
funny.
that intro?
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Sunday evening. I hope everybody has wound down from their Sunday, from their weekend. It's time to get it in and start all over again for next week. Welcome to Unspoken Conversations. Your words have power. Together, we will have a multi generational conversation on topics that are considered taboo, risky, controversial, but most of all, thought provoking. Our goal is to educate and inspire positive action that will motivate change and understanding. And this can only happen when we are willing to have that unspoken conversation. So I thank you all for your attendance. Always remember that our discussion here is interactive. So you are welcome to engage us in conversation. Today we are going to discuss uh, teen co-parenting. Whoever knew that was a thing? But it is absolutely a thing. We never really hear about it, and we absolutely don't talk about it. But I have a young lady here with us today. I'm so excited about her. The first time that I met her, I was completely wowed by her. She articulated herself so well. Um, she had uh um ambitions and goals, and she was just like she was spot on. At 19 years old, she was talking about buying a house, and she was positioning herself to buy a house. And so I commend her. But her name is Jayla, and if she wants to share her last name, I will let her do that. But Jayla will be 21 in what, 2 weeks or week?
In 1 week
One
on
in,
next Saturday.
okay, Jayla will be 21 next Saturday. So happy early birthday to Jayla.
Thank you.
Jayla is the proud mommy of 3-year-old Jamie.
Oh, she's two.
Oh, no, that baby three. But no, is she really two?
Yeah.
My goodness, she's so.
Everybody thinks she's three.
Oh my gosh, she's so smart.
I know.
What? Mm. Well, excuse me, I apologize. She is a proud mommy of 2-year-old Jamie. She is adorable. Argela is a high school graduate, and she is currently attending Howard Community College, where she is majoring in psychology. And her goal is to transfer to a 4-year university to complete her courses. So I met Jayla. It's been 2 years. Um, and she happened. Well, I met her through another young lady who I was coaching through the nonprofit organization Foundation for Girls, and Jayla was friends with her, and so we had an event, um, and had the girls come down to meet their coaches, because Jayla actually is in Maryland. She lives in Baltimore County. So most of our interactions are virtual, or on the phone. But I did have the pleasure of meeting her at least one time in person. But anyway, she's so through this organization, Foundation for Girls, I had the opportunity to coach young teenage moms. Um, I will say everyone is not a teenager. There have been some older women, who were in transition from, from one place to another, and they just needed that I want to say that mentoring, so to speak, or that coaching, to give them direction to help them get back on feet. In Jayla's case, I don't really have to do that. um, Jayla is very clear on what it is that she wants to do, what her goals are, and so our interactions are really just me listening to the things that she has on her mind, the plans that she has set forth. She'll ask me, does that make sense? um and really it's just more like an exchange of ideas, right, Jayla, you would say?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just
because
somebody to bounce ideas off of.
absolutely. Because I promise you, this young lady has it. I really believe she has it put all together. I'm excited to be able to watch her grow, and um, I'm excited to see where her path will take her. Because again, I think for her age, she is brilliant. I want to say good evening to the Christian Walk Pack podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And that is also a podcast that is featured on YouTube. So I encourage everyone who is watching to also follow the Christian Walk podcast. So anyway, so we're going to get into our discussion. I don't know if I mentioned it, but the topic actually is Jayla's topic. This was her idea. We were having one of our chats, our talks, and she said, Miss Letitia, I want to talk about. She was like, I have an idea. She said, let's talk about co-parenting as a team. And I was like, okay. So far be it for me to tell that the younger generation that they can't have a voice. And I just so happen to be blessed and fortunate to have a platform where she will be able to share her voice. And so here we are, voila. And we're going to get into this conversation. Also, my son, when he became a dad, he was 21, going on his way to being 22. So he wasn't quite 18. However, there was an instance where he could have possibly been a dad at the age of 18. And so I think that his perspective at that time will absolutely lend to this conversation, in terms of how does a teenager have to shift their mind into possibly having to interact with a person that they may not necessarily be in a relationship with anymore. Because if you're to the point where you have to co-parent, that means that you're technically not together. Because if you're together, you're just parenting, right? If you're in the relationship, you're just simply parenting. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. My first question is for Jayla. Jayla, how old were you when you found out you was pregnant?
I was 18.
Okay. And at 18 years old, when you first found out that you were pregnant, were you planning that pregnancy? Or was it a total surprise? How did that come about?
It was a surprise. I kind of had a feeling, but it wasn't intentional.
Okay, it was not intentional.
No.
So were you on birth control?
No,
Okay. So how does that work? If it's not intentional,
it
but
wasn't intentional, as in I didn't plan for it to happen,
Mhm.
but it was a consequence of my actions. So,
But you knew it could happen.
yes, yes. So that's why I said I have a feeling it could have happened. I went to the doctors to
Mhm.
confirm it, and that's how. But it wasn't a planned thing that I
Mhm.
intentionally did
Hmm.
beforehand, but I knew that it could have possibly been a
Hmm.
consequence.
So thank you for that, because you said something that I think is important. You might not have planned it, but you knew that the potential for it to happen was there. Correct?
Yes.
Paris, at 18 years old, um, when when you was out there, um, did you too? Were you so the young lady who you were with, though you end up not being the father, obviously that you were intimate with her and there was no birth control involved, correct?
That is correct. Though she told me it was, but you know how that go.
So she told you that she was on birth control.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. And okay, and you believed her, which meant that you did not use a condom, correct?
correct.
Okay. And so you feel like you took the necessary,
No,
or you did
no,
not. Hmm.
no.
So did you entertain the thought that, okay, hey, this girl could possibly get pregnant?
Um, at that point, uh, at that point in high school, that really wasn't on my mind because I figured I had it all planned out and I had a good method of doing things. So I didn't think that it was even I didn't think it was gonna happen to me at that point.
Mm,
Um,
mm. That's interesting.
yeah.
You think a lot of teens think like that?
Hmm.
I
Jayla,
think I
you think a
think
lot?
that I think that a lot of teens do think like that, but also I think a lot of teens are also not fully educated on safe sex, and well, they know how to. Um, they know the contraceptives, but as far as myths on sex and as far as even things as far as STIs and STDs, I've noticed growing up, kids and teenagers around my age, still even within my peer group out here, things that aren't completely true. Like, for example, condoms protect against STIs, but not things like herpes because it's skin to skin.
Mm,
And things like that, like, oh, if I don't need to get tested because my partner got tested, so
mm,
I'm going to get tested through them. And
mm,
that little myths like that, or things that maybe a friend has told them, that or in male friend groups how they're socialized, um,
mhm,
saying things to each other, well, if she's like this, or if you only have symptoms, they don't talk about being asymptomatic.
mm,
They don't talk about, you know, we don't talk about things like when you're fertile or when you're ovulating. We don't talk about things like that. It's just
mhm,
use condoms and birth
mm,
control, and that's it. And a lot of teens, I think it's easy to be risky, and it's like impulsive decision, and not to really think about, like, yeah, that's the consequence, but I'm not thinking down the line. I'm thinking right now.
mm.
It's
Yeah.
like that's too serious to think about.
Mm,
Like, don't bring up that, like, it's basically
yeah.
like a wet blanket on
Mm,
this experience.
mm. You know what? I appreciate you sharing all that information, because I think that, like, I will speak for myself, and I don't necessarily speak for my entire generation, but I will say for my generation, a lot of us are under the impression that, um, our youth, our teens, or what have you, are just simply being, reckless, in their decisions. Um, uh, I will say that at 16, I got pregnant for the first time, and It was for me. I will say that it was definitely an intentional act. I at 16 years old, I was fully aware of the fact that I was not on birth control. That my boyfriend at the time, he was not using a condom. I don't know. I never told him that I was on birth control. So, but he was 2 years older than me, so he should have been aware that him not wearing a condom was he was running the risk of me getting pregnant. And like my son, I told my son, the day that you decide that you don't want to wear a condom is the day that you decided that you wanted to be a dad. Period. It may happen, it may not happen, but at the at any rate, you made that decision because you're not doing anything to prevent it from happening. So anyway, nonetheless, my act was intentional. Um, and I can tell you at 16 years old, the whole notion of parenting was not was not really real to me. My motivation for wanting to have a baby is just, which would be an absolute another topic of discussion, but it was simply because I felt like I was alone, and um I felt like I wasn't loved, and I loved babies anyway. I was always taking care of somebody's baby in my church. And so I said, well, if I have a baby, then my baby will love me, and I will love my baby, and it will be me and my baby against the world. That was my 16-year-old mind. So, Jayla, were you and your and Jamie's father, were you well, let me go back a minute, because I know you shared with me a similarity that I had, and I believe you said that based on that prior decision, it inspired your next decision at 18. So you want to share that?
Yes. So when I was 15, um, I first lost my virginity, and with the second time I had sex, I got pregnant. I used a condom. I wasn't on birth control. The condom broke, and I did not know. They didn't tell me
Mm,
until days after, and I became pregnant. I decided to get an abortion after a few months. I had a um, procedure abortion because I was um, past the stage of a pill. And
mm,
from that experience, I I decided that if I was ever pregnant again, not intentionally, but I was going to prepare more, because when I found out I was pregnant at 15, it was the scariest thing. The way um, people around me reacted, um, family didn't treat me poorly. I'm gonna get that out the way, but it's a lot of you know, you're not ready, you're not those things, and it's a lot of opinions getting projected at you that I because of the fear of what's going to happen, the fear I'm going to ruin my life and all of this,
mhm,
that it's instilling fear inside of me. And then at school it gets out, and then kids are bullying me, they're slut shaming me, they're calling me
mm,
names, and I was already very introverted and only had a few friends. So it just triggered a lot of social anxiety. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I ended up being bullied so bad I switched schools. I had rumors spread about me
mm,
that I was sleeping with 20 people and stuff like that, and I only had sex with two people at the time. And rumors spread towards about me through friends, and then after I had the abortion, being saying, "Oh, that's why you had an abortion," and things like that. And for me, that experience taught me a lot.
mhm,
To make that decision to have an abortion, I thought about there's going to be three car seats in my mom's back seat. I can't get a job. I even tried to apply to the McDonald's, and they said I couldn't get a job there
mhm,
because I was 15, and they're corporately owned McDonald's, and privately owned McDonald's hires at 15 years old. And
Mhm.
I couldn't even apply for things if I wanted to, any type of help. I was going through problems at home. So I was thinking about, I'm a dependent under somebody else, and then somebody else is the dependent under me. So whatever happens to me
Mhm.
is going to happen to that child, and I didn't want to bring a child into that environment. And it really made me think for years on, you know, being independent, being able to, what if this happens with the child? What if the child gets sick?
Mhm.
I have to think about, if I would want to be a mother, what I would do as a mother, how would I
Mhm.
parent? And also, I was moved out of a situation with the family I grew up in, into and exposed to other more healthier dynamics. And my relationship with my father being healthy, and seeing um, other things in my life kind of made me think, okay, how mentally and emotionally would I want to raise a child? Can I, like, I need to unlearn a lot of the toxic things that I learned in my
Mhm.
past, a lot of the habits I have. I introspected a lot. And at the time I got pregnant with my daughter, it wasn't intentional. Me and her father were in a relationship at a point when we first met, but at the time she was conceived, we weren't in a relationship. The whole pregnancy, we weren't in a
Mhm.
relationship. We weren't talking. We've never done anything after she's been born. Ever since she was conceived, no type of physical activity or anything. Um, but yeah, that's basically how I got to that point with Jamie.
So so you never sat down with Jamie's father and say, "Hey, let's make a baby."
No.
Hmm. So I will say for me at 18, because for me when I got pregnant with my oldest daughter, um it when I think about it now, my decision, it wasn't, it totally was not a mature decision. I think it was a decision that was birthed out of what I probably could say today was a case of depression, or shock, or what have you. When I graduated high school early, and I lived in New York City, and growing up in the Bronx, and I wanted to get out. I wanted to um, I wanted to get out of New York City as a whole, and so I applied to go to the Air Force, and I passed the written part of it, but I didn't pass the physical because of my back. I have scoliosis. And so finding that out was completely devastating to me. And it was my only plan. I didn't have a plan B, C, D. That all of my eggs was in that one basket. Um, that for me, going to the Air Force was basically going to be my ticket out. In my mind, I'm getting ready to travel. Uh, New York City is going to be in the wind. And so when that happens, and I now can't go to the Air Force, I'm like, I I really think that I was in shock. I wasn't prepared for that no. And my boyfriend at the time, don't really know where his logic came from. But he young too. Um, we were actually 17 when this happened, and he says, "Well, let's have a baby." So because I didn't have a plan B, C, D, I was like, okay. And so I, at 18, I got pregnant. Again, intentional. I really today I really feel like it was like a completely mindless decision. Um, it logically speaking, it was not. It should not have been my next, you know, alternative. But I think that I was so crushed that I just didn't know what to do. And unfortunately, I did not feel like I could go and talk to my mom. Um, which, is I just if I would have I feel like if I would today if I feel like if I would have talked to my mom, she could have pointed me in other directions. I didn't want to go to college because I was like so happy to get out of school. But mind you, I was a good student. I just didn't want to go to nobody's college. So college wasn't like an option to me. But look at God's plan. I went and got a master's. Go figure. Um, but uh, at 18, it was a mindless decision. I'm not going to say, I will never say it was a mistake. I didn't make a mistake. I don't think a decision to have a child is a mistake. It's a decision. It's a choice that you make. Um uh when when you got pregnant, Jayla, and Paris, when you um the next time that that uh that you were going to become a dad, did you both sit and make a decision? Okay, I want to be a parent now, or did you feel like
After
you
the
were
fact,
thrust into it? Huh?
or like after I
Yeah.
found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
I think after I found out I was pregnant, I knew immediately. I didn't know, um logically it didn't make sense why I felt that way, but I knew that I was going to go through with it because the first time I found out I was pregnant when I was 15, it was total like I knew I couldn't do it. I didn't feel like I had it in me. It felt like the end of the world, and it was like a battle within myself, a battle with like everything around me. Just it felt like I was just being attacked with so many things, with people telling
Mm.
me things, with friends turning on me. It felt like really overwhelming. But
That
with
this was
this,
at 15 or 18?
at
At 15.
15, but at
Okay.
18, when the doctor told me, this is during the pandemic, I had my mask on, and I was sitting in front of like the door and the chair so I could see the mirror. And when she told me, I was smiling under my mask. Like I could see myself smile, and was trying to stop because I didn't want her to think I
Mhm.
did it on purpose, and I didn't want her to judge
Mhm.
me. But I knew there's something like in me was like, yes, like I was happy, and I was like, that's weird. Like, why am I happy about this?
Mm.
And I thought about it like when I went home, I was like, oh, I need to get a job, and I need to do this, and I need to plan, and I need a
Mhm.
budget, and I need to get a car. Okay, I have my license. I need to get a car. I just graduated. I need to move in my own place. I need to do this. I need to get, let me check my credit. Let me call people. Like, I had the plan in place immediately. And I was like, because I had those like years of
Mhm.
thinking what could possibly happen, what would I do, and I feel like it was more motivation. Like I had just graduated, just like I found out in like May 2020, and I just had like was graduating. Like I
Okay.
think within 2 weeks later, that's when I graduate. So oh, I found out in June 2020, and I
Mhm.
graduated in June 2020.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I graduated, and I was in foster care at the time, so I have a
Mhm.
tuition waiver. So I was like, okay, I don't have to pay for college. I can go to community college. I planned it all out, and I said, I know it's going to be hard, but I have to take responsibility for my actions, and also I know how I feel. And usually I wouldn't base my decisions off of how I felt in the moment,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it was like a complete 180 feeling from what I felt before, and it was something I just couldn't ignore. And then when I sat down, I knew like um I would personally not have an abortion again. I'm not against them because I know why people do them, and I know the nuances behind it, and I
Right.
know I personally have had one.
Right.
Um but I knew I never wanted to do that again because nobody really talks about the mental and emotional toll it takes on you afterwards. Like they just think it's, oh, you just do it and it's over with. Or they
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
will even, I've heard a lot of teenage boys and even some teenage girls just throw it around like, oh, just get rid of it, just get an abortion. Or if a guy gets a
Mhm.
girl pregnant, just get an abortion. Like it's not like just going to McDonald's, and it's, you
Mhm.
actually have like long lasting effects after. And I use that, I had a lot of shame and guilt after, but I use that to work through that and to build my character and to build my mindset off of it instead of letting it defeat me. Because there was
Yeah.
a while where I was just beating myself up and why did I do that? And I'm so stupid and blah, blah. And I'm slut shaming myself and I'm internalizing so much stuff. And then I used it to transform my mindset. I'm like, okay, well, that experience I can wholeheartedly say really did help shape how I parent, and how I view my role as a mother in my child's life.
Mhm. Paris, what about you?
Me, Skylar was planned.
Okay.
Me, me and Angela had sat down and talked about it. So we knew what we were trying to. Well, we thought we knew what we were trying to do.
Mhm.
We thought it was more so. I'm older, so it was me more so telling her all the right things where she was into it. Looking back, it was never a mistake. Timing could have been better.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't have any regrets about it. But if I could go back in time, um,
Mhm.
I just would have did a lot different.
I
Okay.
agree with Paris on the timing could have been better
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I do want to say, like, although it wasn't intentional,
Yeah.
I wouldn't take anything back. I would redo
Mhm.
everything, honestly. But
Mhm.
I feel like timing could have been a little bit better, as far as I understand why it's usually pushed down our throats to wait and wait and do this first and get your degree first, and because you
Mhm.
want to have a stable foundation for your
Right.
child
Right.
and for your
Mhm.
own mental state, so you're not focused on somebody's yelling at you at work, you have bills, you have this stress, and then you're taking that
Mhm.
stress out on your child, or you can't be present with your child because your mind
Mhm.
is elsewhere. So I
Mhm.
understand that. I feel like I'm able to balance it kind of. And I
Mhm.
even had I have people in my life to even tell me things like, I know, like, I'm practicing being more present and being more present and engaged with my daughter,
Mhm.
because I have a lot of anxiety. So I'm the type of person, I'm a planner. Even when I go out with people, I'm planning. I'm the one always driving. I'm taking care of everybody. So with my daughter, I do meal prepping. I do laundry in the beginning of the week. I'm folding everything. She has her own room. I have my own room. She has her activities, like she goes to daycare. I try to keep track of certain things she has when she has pajama day and all of those
Mhm.
things. And then I have school, and I'm so focused in that planning, organizing mindset that sometimes I like. Sometimes I need to slow down, and I'm learning
Mhm.
that I can balance it a little bit better. It's not perfect, and I don't think it
Mhm.
ever will be, but I can balance it a little bit better. Like she has like a secure attachment to me, and
Mhm.
sometimes I get in the role of the setting boundaries with her. We can do it
Mhm.
like this, or we can do it like that, and
Mhm.
working with her. And then sometimes, and she's a really good child. She's she's perfect in my eyes, and I'm a mother, so I always
Okay.
think my child's perfect. But she, like when she needs comfort, like she'll signal to me. She tells me when she wants to sleep, when she wants to eat, what she wants to eat, and she's only
Mhm.
2. Like she'll
Mhm.
if she can't communicate verbally, if I haven't taught her the words or she didn't pick up the words somewhere else, she'll point, she'll try to use sign language, she'll use anything possible to signal it. And when she needs what I was getting at earlier with when she needs comfort, she'll go like this, which means she wants a kiss. Because what I did to
Mhm.
build a secure attachment with her is every single time she fell or she cried, she needed something,
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, like I'm meeting her emotional needs. So now, let's say I'm like, okay, this is how you do it. This is what we're gonna do. Let's leave
Mhm.
the house. And she does this. I'm like, that signals to me I need to slow down. She
Mhm.
doesn't need the structure right now. She needs the
Mhm.
nurturing. So
Mm.
I have to get out of my mental
Mhm.
let's go
Mhm.
mindset, and I have to drop down into my body. I have to drop down into how she feels
Mhm.
and try to empathize with her. Like literally sometimes I'll physically drop down to her level, look her in the eyes and connect with her, and she
Mhm.
knows like we were out yesterday and I was telling she's like on me and I'm like you're safe. She felt so comfortable socializing with other people because she's been taught like to trust people, and she can I've even seen her around
Mm.
like other people. She can discern through because of how she's treated and the people I allow her around that
Mhm.
she can tell if somebody is off or
Mm.
like I've seen it. Like she knows
Mhm.
when people kind of have good intentions
Mhm.
and when they don't. She'll come to me. She knows that I'm a safe person. She knows the safe
Mhm.
people in her life
Mhm.
because I wanted to create an environment where if I were to yell at my child, what's any different from if somebody else did? She would think it's
Mhm.
normal. When I was growing up, I would have problems with like other peers and I couldn't see it at a blind spot because other adults did it to me. Like my
Mm.
mother would do
Mm.
stuff to me. So when other young women would do stuff to me, I'm like, I couldn't see. I'm like, oh, it's just normal. My mom does it to me all the time, you know? And
Mm.
I learned like think a lot of parents will it's like the control aspect like don't do that don't like control the child make them well behaved mold them into what you want
Mhm.
but you're not paying attention to how you're doing it. How are
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
molding them? Are you repressing them or are
Mhm.
you teaching them? Are you guiding them? Are you showing them how what is a productive behavior, what is a healthy behavior, or are you
Mhm.
suppressing maybe an urge they have at a natural developmental urge that they have to explore? At
Mhm.
2, they like to throw stuff because they don't know the difference
Mhm.
between a
Yeah.
glass breaking and a ball bouncing.
Right.
So are you focused on the fact that you don't want other people to perceive you as a bad parent, or are you focused on the future of your child? What decision are
Mm.
you making now to mold them into a productive human being because they're not always going to be a child, they're going to be
Mm.
an adult one day.
Right. Look, didn't I tell y'all that
Oh
she
my
is
gosh.
spectacular? Like this woman is only 20. And her depth of perception is like wow. But anyway, but let's get into the meat of the conversation. So you stated that once you found out that you was pregnant, you was no longer with Jamie's father.
No.
Now Paris' situation is different. His co-parenting happens later, much later,
Hmm.
after the second child, and their children are much older. And so we'll touch base on his challenge, but the crux of this conversation is 14. So here you are, 18, pregnant with your daughter. You and your daughter's father, you're no longer together. During Did you have a conversation during your pregnancy, like, okay, what is this co-parenting going to look like?
Yes, it wasn't one conversation, it was repeated conversations of, and I can admit this now, is it was just ego versus ego. I'm right,
Mm,
you're wrong, I want it this way. um and it was like timing would be off. When he wanted to talk, I didn't want to talk, and when I didn't want to talk, he didn't. It was just back and forth. The communication was off. It was a lot
mhm,
of one person attacking the other person, getting a defensive, or
mhm,
taking stuff personal and not trying to work together versus the problem, and just attacking
mhm.
each other's character and calling each other names, and the emotions of that getting in the middle of the fact that we're gonna have a baby.
Did
So yeah, my
I'm
bad.
sorry. Did your breakup, was it a result because you got pregnant?
No, it was we were together in the past um like high school days, and
Mhm,
we went to the same school. I ended up transferring and going to the same school as him,
mhm,
and it was like on and off thing. It wasn't. It was like an on and off thing after that, and
Mm.
at that time, like the breakup had nothing to do with that.
Okay, okay. So you guys are going on back for so during the span of time when you were where you when you were pregnant, I guess all and all those conversations, did y'all come to any types of agreements?
Um, Off the top of my head, no. I'm pretty sure we did come to. We had a few good moments, like as far as like he got a few things for her. He wasn't there for the birth, but he came to the hospital. My aunt was there during it was during the pandemic, so it was only one
Mhm.
person at a time,
Yeah,
a day,
yeah.
within like a 24-hour period. So I wanted, because of how tumultuous the um, pregnancy was, I didn't want to risk any complications during the birth. So my aunt was there, but he was the first
Mhm.
person after to see her, and um, that cold, not really talking or having unhealthy communication lasted a few months after she was born as well. When it
Mhm.
came down to me working, because I was so still I had a C-section with her, but I was still so driven. I was in the hospital on Zoom doing my class in like when I was having her. And
Mm.
afterwards, I'm like, oh, I'm still going to do school. So I was still doing school. I was breastfeeding. I was staying at home with her
Mhm.
and working from home. And that stress, I wasn't paying attention at how much stress it was, because I was so used to, I worked 3 jobs while I was pregnant. I got a car. I saved up so much money so that way I could have time off to take care of her.
Mhm.
To have to basically give myself a self pregnancy leave, a
Mm.
maternity leave, and it was communication, like me being, oh, can you you need to get her, or can you get her so I can work, or so I can do this, and this is my accountability. And feel like it's normal that a lot of women do this, or young women especially do this, where it's pushing how we think they should do stuff instead of
Mm.
like saying, can you do it, or I need this done, and waiting to see what they do, or giving them the opportunity. It's like a I was is a little controlling, like I have this role in my head of what he should be and what a father should be, and he should be doing it, so I'm projecting how you should be doing it, and in me doing that, I'm in turn shaming him, which is making him
Mm.
less inclined to do it. It's making I feel he's kind of stated it. We have conversations now, we're cordial, we're on good terms, um but back in the day, I can say it will make somebody, like even me, like if you keep making somebody feel like they're not
Mhm.
enough. And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, and because I see it so often,
Yeah.
of he's not doing this, he's not doing that. It's sometimes the person's, they're not broken, but when you make them feel like they're broken, you tell them, like when you tell a child they're bad and they're stupid and blah blah, they start to believe it about themselves, so they start to act
Mhm.
that way. So sometimes you tell somebody, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and they're like, well, but I'm doing this. So you're focusing
Mhm.
on the bad, so what's the point if
Mhm.
you're not saying thank you for the good, you're not seeing the good,
Yeah.
what's the point of trying? And that was my fault, because I didn't pick the father that I wanted for my child. And that's my
Mm.
accountability, and trying to mold him into something he's not, instead of meeting him where he is and being the mother that I can be, and finding other resources to fill in those gaps that I would want him to meet.
Mhm. See, this why you a mini me. I declare you are are mini me. But so you said something. Oh my God! Oh my God! How you have that perception at your age is amazing. But I would say to Paris. So to hear this young woman say what she said, and so and the specific thing I want to home in on is that she basically said that in interacting with her daughter's father, she was attempting to create the father that she thought that he should be, which is 100% true. That's what we do. We, if you are, number one, if a female has an idea or a perception of what a father is supposed to look like, and then she has a child with a man, um she she can't help, she inherently thinks that, this is how a father is supposed to be. But ultimately, us as women, we're not in the mind or the psyche of a man, so we don't really know what that looks like, or or how they should be operating, how they should be moving. So now, hearing this young woman say this, that she is saying that this is what she did to her daughter's father. Can you see a correlation in that now with your children's mother? Do you feel like she's attempting the same type of tactics?
As saying, trying to mold me into somebody, or just saying she's trying to fill in where.
No, that
um
she's trying to mold you. She wants you to be the kind of father that she think you're supposed to be.
no, no, that isn't my case at all. My case more so would be, um I'm just, I'm behind, I'm parenting from behind the fence, because she's just, how should I put this? She's the type that, she's just, the consistency isn't there, and the conversations, we don't have those conversations, and the certain type of maturity that's needed at this point in time is what we lack in.
Mhm,
I understand my position in my children's life, uh, and it would never change.
mhm,
Um, it's a long game, so I get that too. So, moving forward with our lives, we don't have it quite figured out yet. Um, it could be, as I would say, is because of both of us, but it would have to get. I'm hoping it was going to get better. It's going to have to get better, and nah, she can't mold me. I mold myself.
well, I mean, whether she can or she can't, I mean, like you said, you know your position. But I honestly, I mean, hmm, I know older people who have done the exact thing
Can
that
I interject? Can I?
certainly.
I think that it's mainly a subconscious thing. I don't
Mm,
think a lot of the times it's a conscious, I'm going to change him. It's mainly like when you take on a lot, when I'm taking on working and school and her Jane and my daughter and uh, trying to maintain a household and doing all of that, I'm putting myself in a position of a leadership role. I'm
mhm,
taking care of her. I feel like, well, what say so do you have if I'm doing all of this and
mm,
you're not doing? But at the end of the day, I decided to do all of that stuff. He didn't tell me to do all. I First of all, I had to do it because that's what was put on me. But I chose to do all that stuff. So to be like, well, I'm doing all this, so you need to do this. Basically, like bossing him around. Like, okay, you fill in these gaps because I'm
mhm,
still in a position of, this goes here, that goes here, that goes here, and I feel like a lot of women in general. I won't even say young women. Um, Older women, wiser women in my life are able to show me through example, but I think we're taught inherently that we know how to love, we know how to do stuff, we're good people, we know how to
mhm,
communicate with men, but a lot of us are ignorant to how to communicate with even other women. Like, I had to learn that. I had to unlearn and how to build
mhm,
positive friendships with other women to be able to discern through positive women, and that and sisterhood and being with other older wiser women to give me advice and to pour wisdom into me, that has changed me a lot. That has helped my just helped me grow a lot. And then on the flip side, learning how to communicate with men. Like I used to back in the day communicate with my father um in certain ways. I'm like, why sometimes he reacts like this and then other times he reacts like that. And like sometimes he gets super happy and then sometimes like, ah, okay, whatever. Like I'm
Mhm.
like, what? And I learned that um those habits that I used to have, I see it all the time. Like now it's like hindsight is 2020. I'm like, okay, I raised the like how I see it. So I'm looking from, oh, like that's why I saw there was a problem and I decided to educate myself on it
Mhm.
and to learn and to ask like
Mhm.
how what are ways that I can improve my communication.
Mhm.
You Me saying I want this, they're going to say, well, I want that. Like
Mhm.
what if I
Mhm.
say I need this, this will help.
Mhm.
um and if they don't do it, being like, okay, well, I'm a, not being not so attached to it, because when you're so attached to they need to
Mhm.
do this and if they don't do this then I'm not going to be okay, and they're failing,
Mhm.
that's when all the anxiety comes and the disappointment comes, and you failed me, you disappointed me, and trying to pin um project your emotions on the not just your child's father, not just men, but in people in general.
Mhm.
And once I learned um, how to navigate with him, I learned that with other people as well, because I didn't want to teach my daughter to not like her father. I didn't
Mhm.
want to instill in her,
Mhm.
oh, he's like this, he's like that, because that's my perception. She He may not be the father I want him to be for her, but he's the father that God put her with, that
Mhm.
she's supposed to have. That's her father. That's her separate relationship with her father. Like I have
Mhm.
a separate relationship with my
Mhm.
father.
Mhm.
My mother and
Mhm.
father may not get along, but I love my dad. I'm a daddy's girl. I love him so much. He provides, he protects. He's
Mhm.
a great father. He treats other children like they're his children. He shows me the type of man that I want in my life. And him he teaches me just he instills a lot of confidence and self-esteem in me when he tells
Mhm.
me I'm smart, and or tells me things like about how I handle situations or that I'm strong, or he corrects me on things. It makes me feel good about myself.
Mhm.
And um, I know that he's the father for me. And when my daughter's with her father, I learned to take a step back and
Mhm.
just observe how do they interact with each
Mhm.
other.
Mhm. Mhm.
He When they're by themselves, it's like they're not together that often. But when they are, it's like they have their own little world. And I want to
Mhm.
be able to nurture that experience, give them as much access and time,
Mhm. Mhm.
not guide him and drive her all the way
Mhm.
there and just
Mhm.
like hand feed him
Mhm.
how to do it and be micromanaging. But
Mhm.
um, if you want to call, you can call. We're gonna answer. I'm gonna tell you if she's asleep. I'm gonna tell you if she's doing something. I'm gonna call back when we can. I'm going to reinforce the good things you do. Oh, thanks for showing up. Thanks for doing this. Showing gratitude. Um, Not trying to emasculate him as a tactic to, kind of break
Mhm.
his self esteem down so he feels like he
Mhm.
has to um, do something to
Mhm.
validate me. And I don't want to play those games. And I feel like it's so
Mhm.
easy, especially when you're not securing yourself and when you're not whole within yourself, to
Mhm.
do that, to try to control your external environment instead of
Mhm.
learning how to center yourself and
Mhm.
to like
So I
like
want to. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to stop you right there and ask Paris. So everything that you just heard Jayla say,
Hmm.
take that and apply that to your situation. Even though y'all are not necessarily not y'all are not teens, hearing what she has said, how does that show up in your relationship with your children's mother?
Honestly, uh, what she's been saying is basically is what the foundation that I want our co-parenting relationship to be.
Mhm.
Um, but that's really I explained that's how we talked about this. We were together for a very long time, so we was like, if it was ever to be this way or such and such, we would, we had a plan. We had talked about it. I would never leave you like this and stuff like that. But sometimes things don't go as planned, or
Mhm.
people just talking for the moment. And so, after the fact, and after it became a reality, I explained, it should be like this. You know, Ian Kill is not. I'm not your enemy. I don't hate you or nothing like that. We just gonna go on about our lives, and so be it. Communication is key, and is not nothing that you couldn't ask me for. But
Mhm.
what she doesn't understand is that yes, we have kids together, but you took it upon yourself to I shouldn't say took it upon yourself. We didn't work out. So what I do with my life is still my life. Even if it's not concerning the kids,
Mhm.
then you don't have no say, or you don't have no you don't have no business even worrying about it or whatnot. So the communication shouldn't rely on what's going on about my life with my life and stuff like that. You shouldn't be studying my life. You should be giving me an opportunity. You should still be planning with me how we can make things run smoothly, not
Mhm.
you know spur of the moment. Hey, I need this. Well, I got my own thing going on as you. Yeah, they lay their head here, but that's 50-50 anyway. But you need to tell me I got things going on. I understand you may hit some hard times. I may hit some hard times too. That's why I would be able to
Mhm.
understand, or I'll be able to help more if I got more time to make things shake.
Mhm.
So you know, we just haven't got to that part yet.
So, I like what Jayla said. She made some really valid points in that um as a single mom, you're more focused on what it is that you have to do.
Yeah.
Your ability of care, and so on and so forth. And you expect the the other parent to come on board and line themselves up
Hmm.
with your plan.
Yeah.
So my question to you, Paris, is that is that fair? Is that appropriate? And when you have a situation like that, what is the boy or the man feeling on the other side?
Well, I must say, with each plan, you gotta sit back and analyze it. So when a plan makes sense, then uh, for certain, as a man, as a father, you should, if it's a good plan, you fall in line with it. Now, do everything got to be exactly the same? Parenting don't have to be the same. I don't agree. Um, that's where you have to, like you said, pick and choose what responsibilities you have to be like. I learned that from the beginning I was going to be the disciplinary, because I understand that the most one of the most important parts is consistency when it comes to kids, because if they get away with stuff, it becomes next thing you know you are lackadaisical about certain situations, and they can be blown out of proportion or whatnot, and it could
Mhm.
really lead to some
Mhm.
other underlying things. So I understand that role, but and while I'm doing that job, I don't need to be I don't need to be met with friction, because I my whole plan is to be looking at them smiling because they made me so proud, because uh
Mhm.
another milestone complete or whatnot. But
Mhm.
I feel like I feel like with the with certain friction and stuff like that, it becomes divided, and then now you have um,
Mhm.
kids trying to pick out what they can get away with and stuff like that. Now you causing another even bigger problem and stuff
Mhm.
like
Right.
that.
You,
So
right.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think that it's easy for the woman, or at least I see, to, or it's a, not an instinct, but it, like a common thing that happens where I've seen, even with women and their wife and husband, I've heard it, that, if the husband's disciplining, the wife is like, oh, that's not how you do it, or you're too hard on him, or, but I've learned this. You, oh, thank you. I got a, there's a message
Hmm.
on the bottom. Wait, am I going to be able to see it later? I'm going to take a picture of it.
mhm.
um, okay, thank you. But, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You
But
was talking
basically,
about
oh, yeah.
husband and
So
wife.
I learned that you guys, even in friendships and even in boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, you go separate and you guys decide where it's us as a team versus the problem. And when you show you're divided, then that allows for children to triangulate in between and say, "Oh, well, mom said this and dad said this," or "Well,
Hmm.
we can do this at mom's house, but we can't." But it's not consistent environments. Like even when like friends around me and family, like maybe if they don't agree with something I'm doing with my daughter, if I say, we're doing this or we're eating this, or blah blah, then they're like, "Yep, what's your mom say to keep it simple?" Or if my friends are like, "Hey, let's not touch this." If they're yelling at my daughter, cussing at my daughter, mistreating her, they would not even be around my daughter. But if they're setting a boundary, I'm like, "Yep, you don't touch their stuff. We don't, because I want to set. This is how you treat people. Period." So
Hmm.
behind, when they're not in sight, you guys can have a discussion of,
Hmm.
I think you're maybe a little too harsh. I didn't grow up like that, or I don't agree with that. It makes me feel like
Hmm.
they're, it doesn't make me feel good. Or maybe we could try doing something different. And you're working as a team versus I'm right and they're wrong, and they're trying to infringe upon my parenting
Hmm.
rights. And because when you
Hmm.
get into that, then it becomes a competition, and
Hmm.
it becomes, I don't, judging towards the other person. See,
Hmm.
well, they're judging me, so I'm going to judge them. Well, I don't like how they're doing this,
Hmm.
and it doesn't. Nobody's perfect, and nobody's going to be a perfect parent. But
Hmm.
some people have strengths and some people have weaknesses. That's why there's two different roles. That's why there's
Right.
two different
Right.
parents, because
Right.
some parents are, like I'm more of the nurturing role, the emotional, and um, the mental, like, I'm a psychology major, and I
Hmm.
have my RBT certification in behavioral science, and I work with children and child development. So I'm more of the, okay, understanding that, but also she does not have the father in the household, and I have to take on both roles. She doesn't go with him. They've never had an overnight. They don't spend time alone like that. If he has to see her, I will make a time for them to see each other, and I will always try to be accommodating to that because I want them to spend as much time as possible with each other. But throughout the weeks, we have our schedule. She has daycare. She has her plans. I try to make her play dates, and we have our schedule, and that's just how it works. So I have to take on both roles, and I have to balance it. But also, she has other male, healthy men in her life, like my father. So when we're at my dad's house, because he lives
Hmm.
like, 10 minutes from me, when we're at
Hmm.
my dad's house, it's up. What Pop Pop say? You know,
Hmm.
Pop Pop said that, so she knows how other healthy men
Hmm.
look. What my
Hmm.
brothers, they
Hmm.
they protect her, how they interact with her. She
Hmm.
loves my brother. Like she'll even see a picture of him when we even go near my dad's house. She'll
Hmm.
keep saying his name because she's anticipating seeing him.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because I want her to know you're supposed to feel safe around men. You're not supposed to be
Hmm.
yelled at. There's a
Hmm.
quote that a man's strength is in his gentleness, and
Hmm.
like I'm a pretty sensitive person, so getting yelled at my people
Mhm.
raising their voice, cussing at me,
Mhm.
makes me shut down. But being talked
Mhm.
to in a certain way, I'm a logic based person, so my instinct is that. But once it gets to yelling at me or anything like that, that all shuts down and it becomes how I feel. So if you talk to me like this, I'm fine. Like you tell me, I don't agree with this, Jailer. I think we should do this instead. We
Mhm.
can come to a middle ground, but
Mhm.
you can't argue. Um, you can't argue emotions versus logic because it'll just come off as invalidating. I
Mhm.
feel this way. Well, you shouldn't because of this and that. It comes off as
Mhm.
invalidating. And when you
Mhm.
go logic versus logic, well, I want this and then I want that. It's uh, it's like a battle, a debate of who's right and wrong, which it just should be kind of harmony. Like, well, this is how I see it. How do you see it? Okay, well, I understand your viewpoint. You're trying to understand it and coming to a resolution. So now you guys decided on something, and now you're sticking to that. And I heard Paris say at one point that there was a plan in place if you guys were to co-parent. I've noticed this that sometimes when you're not healed as a person and as a woman, those plans that you make or the things you
Mhm.
say, the emotions can get in the way sometimes. And I don't want to say it like, oh, women are just emotional and stuff. But you can not being healed can get in the way of it, and just having like you could have some unresolved issues between you two, and all it like it probably is not just solely your responsibility to fix it. But I know once I took it upon myself to really heal from the situation with my daughter's father, there was a time he apologized to me. In like I've noticed even with other men and other situations I've had, once I heal and once I act different and I move different because I know different and my knowledge has changed and my mind has been transformed, they'll come to me, the people from the past, apologizing to me and saying, I did this out of insecurity and I did this because of that. And when you're on the same level, sometimes you can't see that. And he's apologized to me um, a little bit ago. It was very
Mhm.
genuine. And
Mhm.
uh, I I appreciated that because that validated my healing, but it didn't heal me. I wasn't waiting on that. And I've noticed a lot of people, us as people, we wait for people to heal us.
Mhm.
If my mom just said sorry, if that person just said sorry, if my child's father just said sorry, if they did that, but nobody can heal you, nobody can fix you, but
Right.
and you know
Mhm.
I don't like that us as human have to go through pain. I
Mhm.
wish we could avoid it, but that's what builds our
Mhm.
character. So
Mhm.
I would say
Mhm.
it's not just one person or the other. It is also on her end having to
Mhm.
do work on herself. But
Mhm.
it could be a one-sided thing.
Paris, what do you think about what she said? I think there may be some validity in that as it applies to your situation.
Yeah, we that's definitely valid, but mommy, as you know, uh, I've done my I done made my peace and all that. I'm not really a mean guy or nothing like that. I'm really not really disrespectful. Well, I am of now, but I wasn't. Uh,
What?
so I was pretty understanding and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I apologize for all the things that we went through and stuff
Mhm.
like that. I know it wasn't all my fault.
Mhm.
I accept my accountability. And I apologize, and not an enemy. This is I put in plain terms. I said, we just got it. We have a extended science project that happens to be our kids. So who's my
Wow.
partner in this? I'm trying to get an A. You know, um,
Mhm.
but
But to what Jayla said, that like she said that you said y'all initially y'all had a discussion when you was in the relationship that
mhm,
should y'all ever go your separate ways,
mhm.
what co-parenting would look like. Yeah, so y'all had a y'all had a
Yeah, we had
plan in
a
place. However, so what Jayla said, however, because And honestly, this could happen on either side.
Hmm.
That the hurt from the breakup prohibits you from engaging in that plan, because now you hurt, and you're not thinking about what's right for the children because you hurt, because it's part of man's selfish nature is to worry about self.
Right.
But so do you think, I mean, that's the part that I'm talking about, I think is valid. And I absolutely agree that when when two people are emotionally scarred or broken as a result of the relationship, um I guess I, I would like to say maturity plays a role in what you do next. If you lack the necessary maturity, that is that co-parenting in the beginning is going to be a disaster, because you're operating on your emotions. You're operating on how you feel, and you're not thinking about what's best for your children.
Hmm.
Whereas, depending on your level of maturity, when you split, you understand, as long as it's a I guess an amicable split, um you understand that this was something that we needed to do, because together we were toxic. Together we wasn't going to work. So the split become is amicable, and thus you should be able to co-parent, because at the end of the day, your relationship wasn't going to work out anyway. But the children still have to be taken care of. This children still have to be um, cared for. So what I'm hearing in this conversation is that, um, first of all, I have to say that, Jayla, I feel like you're an anomaly.
Okay.
But what I hear, what I'm hearing from you is you 18 and older.
Mhm.
I would dare say that you probably did not have this perspective at 15.
No,
And
had some perspective from seeing my parents. I
mhm,
had some perspective from seeing children around me. A lot of
mhm,
us didn't came from broken homes,
mhm,
or like the kids that I knew that had like two parent households, that parents paid for the extracurricular activities. From my perspective, it was like, oh, those are like, the good kids. Like those are, they're too like. This is a subconscious thing I realized as I got older, but it was like my brain filtered them out. Like this
mhm,
soccer kids, like, oh, they're too good. Like they're they have they're healthy. They're pure.
mhm,
They're like I don't know, like,
mhm,
and I realized like they're not when I don't know. Okay, so I had some experience. Basically, I could see when you're underneath it all, you can see like people's flaws. Like you can see,
yeah,
well, they're saying this, but they're being a
yeah,
hypocrite. Like my
yeah,
parents telling me this and blah blah, and
yeah,
this is making no sense.
yeah.
You can see when you're in it, but it's a
Mhm,
whole complete like different perspective when you're out of it. And I see other stuff. So now I'm
mhm, mhm,
seeing
mhm.
wives and
Yes,
husband,
yeah,
healthy wives and husband.
yeah, yes, you
Um,
have additional information now.
yeah, and that's
Mhm,
all. And then also intentionally trying to learn instead of before I was not anywhere trying to. I did not care
mhm,
about communicate. Like I didn't care about that stuff. Like
mhm,
intentionally trying to learn it. If somebody were to
mhm,
tell me or
mhm,
stumble across the information,
mhm,
yeah, but it wasn't a passion or something I was
mhm.
looking to learn.
So I think that the role that um, the older generation plays in this situation is that I would say, like, when When my son and his children's mother were going to split, I remember saying to him, that your relationship with your children is not contingent on the relationship that you have with your children's mother. That's a completely separate relationship. If your relationship with the other parent is not so much, not a healthy one, um, if it's volatile, if it's toxic, um, co-parenting truly becomes difficult, and it could potentially become dangerous. Um, but if it's just simply, the two parents are going in opposite directions, and they're not, they can't come together in a relationship, they break up. But what cannot change is the dynamic that you have created for your children. So if your children are accustomed to one of the parents doing a certain thing, you must make it your business, as long as it's possible, to keep doing that same thing. They shouldn't have your children shouldn't have to suffer because the relationship ended. So their whole world shouldn't have to be flipped upside down because the relationship ended. There will be some adjustments that have to be made. But then, but even with those adjustments, um, I think it's important that those two parents, even though y'all may reside in different, you're going to end up residing in different places. What's done in one household should absolutely be done in the other household, because, like you had said, Jamie, you create a level of conflict for that child, where now that child is learning how to manipulate those two parents, because those two parents are not operating in the same way. They don't have the same boundaries. They don't have the same parameters. And kids, look, today's kids are smart. They will sit back and they will watch you. Our children study us. That's how they learn.
I would say that um I wouldn't say that they're manipulating in a like malicious intent, but I
Right.
think
They're not.
yeah, I think they're being conditioned that way because like you said, they're observant,
Mm-hmm.
and they pick up on how you treat them. Children understand tone. That's why when the baby is in your stomach, you can talk to the baby. The baby will
Mm-hmm.
kick and respond to you.
Mm-hmm.
Children can
Mm-hmm.
pick up on your tones and get over here versus
Mm-hmm.
hey, come
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
They pick up
Mm-hmm.
on that. They know when
Mm-hmm.
mommy and daddy are in a fight, when they're
Mm-hmm.
not, when they're cool, when one is when I go to their house, they're doing this, and they know,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, even mom doesn't like when I watch TV, but
Mm-hmm.
dad lets me watch TV, so I'm gonna go to dad's house most of the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, even as a kid, like I would know what what I could not what I could get away with, but what I would prefer to do with which
Mm-hmm.
parent.
Mm-hmm.
You can prefer to do stuff with which parent. One parent's the
Mm-hmm.
fun parent, or one parent's the
Mm-hmm.
one that you want to go to for emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
I may not want to tell dad this because he may be a little strict, or maybe thinking about it from an objective standpoint and not a nurturing standpoint. But when it's divisive, like you're not agreeing and you're doing different things, that's when it becomes a
Right.
problem. Like I have
Right.
parents, like
Right.
I preferred as a kid to go with my dad because he was like the fun parent.
Mm-hmm.
He was still like disciplinarian. He was still um all of that, a great father. But
Mm-hmm.
we spent quality time, and one of my love
Mm-hmm.
languages is quality time. And when I
Mm-hmm.
went with my father, I knew I was going to get that
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one time. We're going to go places. He was going to pay for food. I knew that, so I would prefer to go to
Mm-hmm.
him for that, and that's not
Mm-hmm.
wrong. But there, I've even seen with working, where I'm in a
Mm-hmm.
household working, and they live in a multi-generational household. So the grandparents say one thing, the parents are at work all day. So when the grandparents say no, they
Mm-hmm.
wait till the parent comes home, and then I already said no, and but the parent was never there. So they're like, oh, I know that they're going to say yes because they don't know what happened before they got home. That's what
Mhm,
they're trained to know because
mhm,
they know what time mom gets home. They get home every day at
mhm,
the same time.
mhm,
Who's here with me throughout the day? Um, who is allowed to do what? Like I was a
mhm.
technician, so I can't technically go in their refrigerator. If they ask me for juice, I can't go in the refrigerator, so they're not going to ask me. They're going to go to the authority that can do that
Mhm,
thing.
mhm, mhm. Yeah.
So let's say,
So
okay, you go. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, I'm sorry, hon. So yeah, so you're absolutely right. But like I said, when you're a teen, like when you're 15,
Hmm.
um, you're not you're not a teen, a young girl is not going to think the way that you think.
Hmm.
Most 18-year-olds are not going to think the way you think.
Hmm.
A lot of 25-year-olds are not going to think the way that you think. But now when you at 25, it's really nothing that I mean, that's a whole different that's a whole different animal. But I would say when you're, a teen that is at home. So I have a son and I have daughters. So I will say for daughters, um knowing what I know now, as a mom, as now a grandma, right? And realizing what we as women do, even if it's unconsciously, we still do it. I feel like the role and the responsibility of the older generation, right, is to educate them on that emotional piece. Telling them, first, you can't interject your feelings, your opinions, your views on parenting and how it should operate onto the other parent, and vice versa. That we as the older generation should encourage these teens to sit down and have conversations. I don't think that those are conversations that they can do on their own. I think that those are conversations that need to be facilitated by other adults. That those conversations need to be guided, because they don't know how you we should not be even expecting 15-year-olds to even think like that. They have no idea. They don't know until it happens, until they start doing it, because you don't you I don't know. I don't really think that you can necessarily prepare them for that. Plus, there's a whole lot of things that went into their decisions to become parents. And then there's a whole lot going on between both of them, psychologically and emotionally, as they approach that day when the child is born. It's there's so much that goes into all of this, right? And I think we as a community, we're missing a lot of it. That there's an emotional and psychological element that happens with a teen who is getting ready to become a parent, who only been on the planet 15 years and don't have a clue, and they're getting ready to navigate. I will never say that they made a mistake. Who am I to say that anybody made a mistake? That 15-year-old could be birthed in the next president. Um, that 15-year-old could be birthing the Messiah, for all I know. But so I can't say that you made a mistake. You made a decision. Bottom line is that you made a decision. You made a choice to become a parent. Now it's my generation, how older people, how do we help our youth navigate um parenting in a healthy way, where you don't put ill feelings or mixed feelings on your children about either parent. How do we teach the two parents to get on the same board for the betterment of their children, that is not about them. Unless you're going to be together, it's not about you, the two of you anymore. It's about what do we do for the safety and well-being of our child. And that we can't use you can't use a child against each other. But I feel like it requires that those two teens be around people who mature people, people who understand the dynamic, people who are sensitive to the dynamic, and who legitimately want to help them. I have to say, I've seen situations where you had a teen mom, and please forgive me for saying what I'm getting ready to say. Everybody on her in her family was ratchet as all get out, and they did not give her good advice, and they were very manipulative, and they made a very uncomfortable situation for their daughter and the father, and it was bad. And I was and nobody realized that ultimately the person that gets hurt in this is going to be that child. So Jayla, I appreciate your candor, your transparency in this conversation. Again, you know how much I adore you. I feel so blessed to know you, because I have never heard a 20-year-old, a soon to be 21-year-old, be able to articulate themselves in the manner in which you can, and the depth of your perception about things. And so I'm glad to have been able to give you this platform to be able to share um, what it's like to co-parent as a teen. I hope, because we like really like over time, I hope that you were able to get out
Mhm.
the important facts about co-parenting as a teen. To my son, so um one would think that I'm biased, but that my son is like he is the male. I want to say at times he's a male version of me. He loves his family. He is a disciplinarian. He believes in structure. He believes that children have a place. He listens to them, but you have a place, there. He sets those boundaries um for his children, as well as he has established a foundation for them. However, his struggle is that the mother of his children, they are not on the same page. um uh
She
there
worried about
is
my page.
that right there, they are not successfully co-parenting. And I will say they are not successfully co-parenting because emotionally, right, she has not gotten over um that she is not the wife. I'm gonna just call it what it is.
Can I say
um
something real quick?
yes.
She probably thinking that I did something terribly wrong or nothing like that. But in all actuality, we just grew apart, and she had to live her life, and I just gave her the opportunity to do so. So
Mhm.
I don't think I'm just
Mhm.
a bad guy, or anybody for that matter. I didn't do her shady or nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. In all fairness, I mean, because he held on. He held on a long time. But again, at the end of the day, it didn't work. So now how do we successfully co-parent these children where we raise healthy adults? And yes, they are still trying to to figure that out. And I pray and hope that they figure it out before any significant damage is done to anybody, because the potential is absolutely there. So we will definitely keep them in, in prayer, that this gets worked out in a positive way sooner than later. But with that said, I want to thank everyone who has joined us to this evening. This was an excellent conversation. Um, wish we had wish we had more time, because that, oh my God, there was so many layers that we could have peeled back and like
Yeah.
really delved into. But this was good. Jayla, I hope that you will join me again.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
because I like your perspective on on this parenting, and it'll probably be another parenting conversation. Like I said, this is unspoken conversations. We talk about anything and everything. And I truly want to be able to talk about things that where I can get a multi generational perspective on, because the way I think doesn't necessarily have to be right. The way that my son or you think doesn't necessarily have to be right. But somewhere in all of that, um, we all can't come together on on a common ground, and work together to help our communities. So yeah, that's the foundation and the basis of unspoken conversation. So thank you again. Thank you, Paris, for being in attendance. He is technically the other co-host, the other host to this podcast. But he had been working on Sunday, so he'll be in and out, in and out. But he was right on point, on task this evening. So I thank you, and I thank all of our guests. Um, uh, Most of you appear to be watching on YouTube. YouTube appears to be the preferred platform, and I am grateful for that. I really, truly do not know what is going on with Facebook, but the devil is a lie. You're not going to stop this podcast. I'm going to keep moving forward. If I now have to incorporate Spotify, I'll do that too. I don't have to use um, Facebook, but I know that so many of my friends are on Facebook, and so it just seemed like the most logical thing to do. But anyway, um, please like and share this video. Please subscribe. My little subscription little thermometer is going up. I think I'm up to 20 subscribers, I think, on YouTube. So that's pretty darn good for somebody who don't know nothing about no podcast. So look, God is faithful. I'm trusting. He just told me to do one thing, and he just told me to talk. So thank you all again. I hope everybody has an awesome night, and God bless. And we will see you again in 2 weeks, where we will be discussing colorism. Jayla, you know what colorism is?
Yes, I know color. Yes.
Yeah. You think like that'd be a conversation you'd like to join us in?
Yes.
Mhm. Paris, you know what colorism is, right?
You being funny, or of course?
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I say that because you know people have different perceptions or understandings of what colorism is. So that's why we're gonna have this discussion. Um, so yeah, I need to find an additional person, because all of us are really roughly around the same complexion, and so yeah, we need another person
Like
who's.
of lighter complexion or of darker?
We could go lighter, we could go darker, because I feel like we somewhere like
Talk about Shasha.
yeah, I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm on the
Fuck your name.
darker darker
But maybe,
complexions.
but yeah, but maybe even someone, maybe someone even darker than yourself to
Then
really make,
okay.
to really round out
Mhm.
this conversation. So yeah, we'll be I'll be on the lookout.
You're looking
I,
out for colors.
yeah, for yes,
You're like,
yeah.
hey, you look pretty dark.
No, that's not how. No, for a darker hue,
Uh,
darker shade, a darker hue. Yeah, that part. All right. Thank you, everybody. Y'all have an awesome, awesome, blessed evening. Appreciate you. Remember to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're watching on Facebook, do click the link to follow us. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. Thank you, and God bless.
Oh, he left.